What if Jacinda is not the threat Willow should fear, but the one person who remembers what Willow tried to forget? I think that is the darker story hiding underneath all of this, and I feel like General Hospital could be setting up something much more personal than a simple rivalry over Michael. In my opinion, the real question is not whether Jacinda is connected to Dawn of Day. The real question is why Willow reacts to her like a door from the past has just been kicked open. I could be wrong, and this is just my interpretation, but I do not think Jacinda's tie should be read as a simple clue that she is honoring Shiloh. That feels too easy to me, too direct, too predictable. I think the tie may be a trap, not a trap for Jacinda, a trap for Willow. From my perspective, someone may want Willow to see that symbol. Someone may want her to panic. Someone may want her to look irrational, jealous, unstable, and dangerous in front of Michael. And honestly, I feel like it is already working. Right now, I see Willow behaving as if Jacinda is not just Michael's new love interest. I see Willow reacting like Jacinda is contamination. Like, Jacinda brings something into her children's world that Willow cannot tolerate. On the surface, I understand it. Michael dating Jacinda is complicated. Willow shares children with Michael. She already feels judged, cornered, and replaced. I think any mother in her position would feel threatened if someone new started getting close to the family she still wants to protect. But I also feel like Willow's anger is too sharp to be only about jealousy. In my opinion, jealousy explains the volume of the fight. It does not explain the fear behind her eyes. That is where this theory becomes more interesting to me. I think Jacinda may not be coming after Willow because of Shiloh. I think Jacinda may be connected to a night Willow never wanted anyone to discuss again. Maybe Jacinda was once another woman pulled into the outer circles of Dawn of Day. Maybe she was not a loyal follower. Maybe she was not a villain. Maybe she was another person used, moved around, silenced, and then forgotten. And maybe Willow saw her. That possibility changes everything. Because if Willow saw Jacinda suffering years ago and did not speak up, then Willow's reaction now becomes more than judgment. It becomes guilt. It becomes panic. It becomes self-defense. I do not think Willow would have stayed silent because she was cruel. I want to be clear about that. From my perspective, Willow was also a victim of that world. She was manipulated. She was controlled. She was terrified. I feel like Harmony may have played a huge emotional role in shaping what Willow believed she could and could not do. But that is exactly why this story could hurt. Sometimes a victim can still carry guilt. Sometimes survival creates silence. Sometimes the person who escapes has to live with the memory of someone else who did not. I think that is the emotional wound Jacinda could reopen. Imagine Jacinda looking at Willow and realizing she has seen that face before. Not from Port Charles, not from Michael's orbit, but from a hallway, a locked room, a whispered warning. A night when someone had one chance to say something and did not. I could be wrong, but I feel like that would be far stronger than making Jacinda some secret Shiloh loyalist. Because then Jacinda is not just a threat. She's a mirror. And Willow may not be able to stand what she sees in it. In my opinion, Michael is the person who could be hurt most by this. I think he wants to believe he understands Willow. He knows her trauma. He knows her history. He knows the pain Dawn of Day left behind. But knowing someone has trauma is not the same as knowing every choice they made inside that trauma. If Michael starts to suspect that Willow has hidden something involving Jacinda, Dawn of Day, or the children's safety, I think his entire attitude could shift. Not because he stops caring. I do not think that. But because Michael is very sensitive when secrets touch his kids, I feel like Willow's worst fear may not be Jacinda stealing Michael. It may be Michael looking at Willow differently. That is why the tie matters to me. I think it may be designed to make Willow expose herself emotionally before anyone has enough facts. It seems to me that whoever placed that clue, or whoever allowed it to surface, knows exactly how to press Willow's deepest wound. And that brings me to the bigger villain possibility. I could be wrong, but I do not think Jacinda has to be the mastermind. I think someone else could be using her, someone who understands that Dawn of Day does not need to come back physically to destroy Willow. The memory is enough. In my opinion, a manipulator would not need Shiloh alive. They would only need Shiloh's shadow. That is why I feel like a Sidwell type move would make sense in this kind of story. He would not need to attack Willow directly. He would only need to make her unravel in public. Let her insult Jacinda. Let her push Michael. Let her sound unreasonable. Let her give everyone a reason to question her judgment. That is colder, and honestly, I think it is more dangerous. Because if Willow is being triggered on purpose, then her fear is real, but her target may be wrong. I love that kind of soap tension. Willow could be correct that something dangerous is happening, but she could be completely wrong about Jacinda being the danger. Now, here is another angle I think could be powerful. What if Jacinda is actually trying to protect Wiley and Amelia? What if she notices something strange first? Maybe a stranger asking questions. Maybe a phrase connected to Dawn of Day that a child should not know. Maybe a small object left near the children. Maybe a phone call that makes Jacinda realize someone is circling Michael's family. And then Willow walks in at the worst possible moment. Willow sees Jacinda near the children and explodes. I can imagine Willow accusing her of crossing a line. I can imagine Michael stepping in, furious that Willow is attacking Jacinda again. I can imagine Jacinda staying calm at first, then finally snapping because she is tired of being treated like a disease. And then Jacinda says something that freezes Willow. Something like, "You were there before, you looked away then too." That is the line I think could break the room. From my perspective, that would be the moment the story stops being about Michael's dating life and becomes about Willow's past. And I feel like Nina would make it worse. I say that with love for Nina as a messy, emotional character, but in my opinion, Nina's instinct is always to protect first and think later. If she believes Jacinda can hurt Willow, I think Nina may try to silence Jacinda, pressure her, or make some kind of offer that completely backfires. And if Jacinda is telling the truth, Nina's interference would only make Willow look guiltier. That is the tragedy of Nina sometimes. I think she loves so hard that she accidentally creates more damage. Then there is Tracy. I feel like Tracy would be the one person cold enough to follow the evidence instead of the emotion. If everyone else is fighting, Tracy might quietly investigate the tie itself. And what if she discovers the symbol was altered recently? That would be a huge twist. In my opinion, that would prove the tie was not simply a relic from the past. It was staged, it was planted, it was meant to be seen, and that would mean Jacinda and Willow are both being pushed into a confrontation by someone who benefits from the chaos. I think there are several possible directions here. First, Jacinda may remember Willow from a buried Dawn of Day incident, but not fully understand what Willow did, or why she stayed silent. Second, Willow may remember more than she admits, but she may have convinced herself that silence was the only way to survive. Third, Michael may start investigating Jacinda to protect the kids, only to discover that Jacinda is not lying. Fourth, Nina may try to protect Willow and accidentally give Jacinda more reason to expose everything. Fifth, Tracy may uncover that the tie was used as bait, which would shift suspicion away from Jacinda and toward a much bigger manipulator. But here is my most controversial opinion. I think Willow needs to lose the moral high ground for this story to work. I do not mean she needs to become evil. I do not think that at all. I mean she needs to become complicated. In my opinion, the best version of Willow is not perfect. It is wounded, defensive, loving, afraid, capable of compassion, but also capable of denial. I feel like if Willow once failed Jacinda, even under pressure, then this story becomes emotionally serious. It forces Willow to face the kind of guilt that cannot be erased by saying she was also a victim. Both things can be true. Willow can be a survivor, and Jacinda can still deserve answers. That is the part I find most compelling. I think Jacinda may not want revenge in the way people expect. She may want recognition. She may want Willow to admit, even privately, that she remembers, that she saw, that she knew more than she said. And I think Willow's terror may come from the fact that admitting the truth could change how Michael sees her forever. Not because Michael has no compassion, but because Michael may wonder what else Willow has buried. That is why I feel the storyline could be bigger than jealousy, bigger than romance, and bigger than one creepy symbol on a tie. This could be about what trauma makes people hide. It could be about how the past does not stay buried just because someone builds a family over it. It could be about two women who were both damaged by the same dark world now being forced to stand on opposite sides of the same wound. And honestly, I think that is much more interesting than Jacinda simply being a villain. I could be wrong. This is just my interpretation. But I feel like Jacinda may be the key to a secret Willow has never fully faced. So now I want to know what you think. Is Jacinda really dangerous? Or is Willow afraid because Jacinda remembers the one night Willow hoped would never come back? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because in my opinion, this theory could completely change the way we look at Willow, Jacinda, Michael, and the Shadow of Dawn of Day.